Hey, everybody over on Facebook Live. How are you guys doing? I am out to be Pelzer, the voice coach, not a voice coach, but the voice coach, professional speaker, certified life coach, and Amazon bestselling author. I am the host of Speakeasy Podcast, where we talk about the behind the scenes of what it is to be a speaker or an author. And I am out to be Pelzer. Had to make sure that was cut off. Hi. Gotta love it, right? Listen, guys, let's talk about it. We talk about, the blunders. We talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly when it comes to being that speaker or that author. And let's be honest, this journey as a parent doing it is not always an easy journey. Let's just be real. It's not. I know a lot of times we want to think that, if I put everything down on paper and I click my heels 3 times, it's all going to work out, and it doesn't always work that way. So today's guest, I am waiting for them to come in, but I wanted to talk to you guys and say thank you to all my replay viewers. Guys, even on the replays, you guys have been showing me so much love. You've really been showing up and showing out, and we appreciate it here over at Speakeasy Podcast because we come back and engage with you, not just me as the host, but also our guests come back. They post things in the comments. They come back and share. But guess what? Something that'll be coming up as we roll out some great things happening over here at the Speakeasy Podcast is that, listen, our sponsors will have some opportunities for you. Our guests will have some things for you, some little gifts and stuff of that nature. So with that being said, I always make sure that it's about you. It's about the audience, because guess what? There is no Speakeasy Podcast without the audience. I would just be sitting here talking to myself. Not that I've ever done that before. Just saying. So with that being said, guys, when we think about it, again, as an author, as a speaker, there are so many different things and obstacles and situations that come into play in the beginning, in the middle, as you continue to go and grow. It happens. But throw into the mix being a parent, that part. Throw into the mix traveling and still having to deal with going and doing doctor's appointments, going and having the kids got this going on and that going on, and you're budgeting for your speaking events, for their traveling, for their things. Listen, and it doesn't always work the way you want it to work, because sometimes it may not be that your family is there to support you. I know that there's a lot of parents that go through that. It's very difficult to kind of try to explain the entrepreneurial journey. It's hard to explain, why we can't go to this event or go to this store or shop or do this or do that, because in this entrepreneurial journey, we have a budget. Sometimes it's difficult having that discussion that I have to go out this weekend, not because I'm going to party, although I may do some partying while I'm out, but it's for me to network. It's for me to build my brand and build my business and have my business be seen. We know that literally showing up is the greatest way for people to know who you are, who you serve, how you serve. They get to touch and feel you, and that sounded really weird. Might have to cut that out. So they're going to learn that you're a real person and be able to connect with you in that manner. So with that being said, let's talk about that parent journey. Let's talk about the things that you have been doing when it comes to the parent journey, as well as the things that you've seen some other parents do. Now, I've had people say, as a single mother, I've had people say, oh, you got to be careful with doing so much traveling, and your kids don't need to travel a lot, and they need to be stable, and they need to be this. Can we talk about that? Can we be, guys, I'm very transparent. I'm very honest, but let's be real. If I listened to every person that told me instead of going and traveling to events, I should be home, then I wouldn't be where I am today. Now, am I leaving them home alone? I am not. And even though I have teenagers that can cook and clean and take care of 65% of themselves, I'll know that I need a team. I need people that's going to be there for them. I need people that's going to encourage them and support them. I need people that I can tag team in when I'm not going to be around. And I have that. I set that in motion. I didn't just fly off the handle and just say, hey, I'm just going to leave and hope that the house is in one piece when I get back. We know how that works. Let's be honest. We know how that works. Because if you think that you are about to go and say, I'm going to get started on this business and my kids will just figure it out, you might not have no kids when you get back. You might not have a house when you get back. Because listen, some of y'all kids don't know how to cook yet. Some of y'all kids don't know how to clean very well. Some of y'all kids can't take care of themselves, and it's understandable. It's just, some do, some don't. But the reality is that a part of this journey is having it set up that as a parent, people know who I am, who I serve, how I serve, but I have to know my limitations in taking care of my family. And so I see some comments starting to come in already. Hey guys, you guys know I always love interacting with you guys on the comments. Look, Medora said, thank God for grown kids. Hey, Jacqueline, I inboxed you the link for you to join in. Yes. Hey, Ife. Hey, Medora. Listen, sometimes you said they're going to get ate by the gangster roaches. You never know what's going to happen when you leave. But the reality is that, guess what? I've had people look at me negatively and say that as a single mother, I shouldn't be speaking. As a single mother, I shouldn't be traveling. And I'm like, why? Why would that be such a significant thing that I shouldn't be doing it? But yet, is it, because listen, and let's be honest, sometimes they're telling us not to do it simply because they haven't seen it done. Can we talk about that? That piece of honesty is that they tell us not to do it simply because they haven't seen it done. And being able to say that you haven't seen something done, listen, a lot of times it leaves you to your own imagination on how things will go. Like plain and simple. It does. Your own thought process on how things are going to go. But the reality is that, listen, I can make it happen. I've seen other people who have been single parents become successful. We see literally even in the big names, the industry, like the leaders in the industry, we've seen them do some amazing things at being a single parent or just being a parent in general and still not having their children all out in the limelight, still not dragging their children through the media and things of that nature. You have some parents who that's what they do. Their children are forefront in the media. Listen, we know that DJ Khaled, that if you go to his IG, you're going to see his son. You're going to see his son. You're going to see pictures. You're going to see video. Listen, because he loves his son. Does it make him any less of a parent? It does not. But there's some things that have to be in place. So, hey, Jacqueline, how are you?
Altabies.
It's great seeing you. And, thank you for joining, as a guest here on the Speakeasy podcast. Those who are joining us, those who are watching us, and those who are catching the replay, if you could share out the broadcast, because somebody somewhere may need this information and need to be a part of this conversation. So as a author dealing with parenting, let's have you introduce yourself to the audience so they know just who you are, Jacqueline.
Good afternoon, guys. I'm Jacqueline Levy, and I'm a parent advocate. I'm just starting my journey. I've just finished a couple of books, so I'm new at this. Entrepreneurship hasn't taken off the ground yet. So I don't know which book we're going to be discussing, Miss Altavis. I've written my first book is How to Be an Advocate for Your Child, Fighting for My Child's Life. The name of the book is Fighting for My Child's Life. And I'm so sorry I missed the interview a couple of weeks ago because I was on the wrong page. So I don't know what exactly we're going to be discussing because I have more than one book.
So today's topic is going to be all about the process when it comes to being that entrepreneur and being that parent. And a lot of that goes back to, being an advocate for your child, because we look at our children and we have to have some things in place. We have to have some processes in place, some things in order, so that way our child is not left behind. We have to have some things in order so that as an entrepreneur, if we're traveling, we're speaking, like what are we setting in place for them? So thinking about that perspective, what do you think are some key elements that we need to have in place and that we need to think about advocating for our children, especially as an entrepreneur?
Well, if you want to get down to the nitty gritty of it all, you're right, exactly right in what you're saying. But in my situation, as in many parent situations, the main thing I would like to leave them with is don't try to do too much. It's a lot that has to be done, but if you try to do too much, you're really going to be overburdened and overwhelmed because you're dealing with the school system, you're dealing with medications, you're dealing with situations at home. So it's really a lot. The main thing is, like I'm saying, don't overwhelm yourself. Do a little bit at a time. I was at one time trying to do almost everything at one time, and I burnt myself out. So if that's one of the questions, I'm trying to answer it.
Definitely. And so I think that another piece of it is the communication. Like communication as far as being in communication with the school, being in communication with, your team. I know that for me, I have a team, and that helps me not to get to that burnt out, moment, is literally having a team set up that if I can't be somewhere, I have somebody else that can be in place. If I'm needing help, I have to be able to open my mouth and ask for it is a big piece of it. But that communication, do you feel as though that's a big piece of being able to put some things in order for your children?
It's a really big piece. And you need to do a lot of networking. And with my networking, I was lucky and I was fortunate to be able to find some really great people to help me navigate for my child. They were called a community support team, and it was a psychologist, a psychiatrist, a nurse, etc. So yes, you're right, Altavis. You need a team. You won't make it without a team. Even your family members need to be on your team. So you're exactly right about that.
Yeah, I can definitely. Yes. Having family, some supportive family members definitely makes a big difference when it comes to advocating for your children, when it comes to having a support system and doing some things for your children. And I know that with, for me, I didn't have any, I had some significant things that I had to advocate for. So that always makes it a lot more difficult, because let's be honest, as we'll say average, the average parent, you have you have events at the school, you have parent-teacher conferences, you have you may have the parent-teacher night, or you may have the parent association at your school. I mean, you have some basic things that are in place. But then when we go a step further and we think about children that are dealing with any type of mental illness, any children that are dealing with ADHD, any children that are dealing with anything outside of that quote unquote, normalcy, timeline, then what happens is you find yourself spending a lot more time at the school. You find yourself spending a lot more time talking to people that some of the other parents may not have the time or
definitely
that conversation. So what do you see as the difference between that parent of a child who doesn't have to have those extra conversations, as opposed to a parent who does have to have those extra conversations? Because I know just with an IEP meeting can stress you out.
Well, what happened in my case, believe it or not, I was taken on the continuing education child care, and I ended up working at the school with my child. So it became a little bit helpful. It became helpful. It was a strange situation. I ended up working in the school system, and I began to learn about the IEPs and the ins and out of the school system and what I needed to do. And then I'm coming from a background of healthcare. So I was by nature a CNA. So I kind of knew the pitfalls of the healthcare system. So therefore, I was kind of lucky, I think. I kind of knew the ins and outs. But a parent that doesn't, just like you were saying, you got to spend a lot of time at the school, and sometimes you don't have that time, and you may not know even the medical field. So now you at I'm not going to say a disadvantage, because that's one of the things I'm stressing in one of my books. You need to network. Networking and researching, that's your two best friends dealing with the child with a disability.
And those are two powerful words, networking and research.
Right.
And
right.
Because listen, everything, you give yourself the better advantage when you're networking and you have the research, because let's be honest, there are still parent groups that connect with each other and support each other. So you never know, you may start a parent group of authors where you guys literally help each other out as parents.
Right. And that's one reason that's one of the reasons I said how to be an advocate for your child, because I want the parents to know, LTVs. It sounds strange, but LTVs, before I started this journey, I didn't even know what networking was. So these parents don't need to feel like they don't know. You will learn. Just start networking and researching, and it'll all come together. You're going to learn just like everyone else learns.
Definitely. And you said a big thing right there, because people don't know what, or not even, I won't even say that they don't know what networking is. Sometimes they just have the wrong idea of what it is.
Right.
In the beginning, I just saw suits and business cards. That's in my mind. That's all I thought about when I thought Networking.
Right. That's what I'm saying. I didn't know, like you said, I just had the wrong definition of it. But parents with the child with the disability, I feel their pain because I know what they're going through. It's not an easy task. You have an extra burden on your, I don't want to say burden, you got an extra meal on your plate. It's an extra meal. But you can be successful if you do those two things, which we just said, networking and researching. That will become your two best friends. That was my best friend, in other words.
So far, guys, you have been told that some key elements for you to be able to do this parenting thing when it comes to being the author, the speaker, and you have a child that you have to advocate for. And this is, let's be honest, let's be real. A lot of times we forget, we think about the child that has ADHD and the child that has the IEP. And sometimes we forget that we have to advocate for all of our children.
Right. That's right.
There's some way, somehow, that we have to advocate for all of our children, because if we're not advocating for our children, then what are they being left to? What's their other options?
Well said. Well said. That's right.
I know that a lot of times, especially right now, we have so much going on when it comes to our youth, and we don't have the conversations that need to be had. People don't want to talk about the suicide rate. People don't want to talk about the low self-esteem, the bullying. People don't want to talk about the, oh my goodness, just everything that they're going through, the drug abuse, the sex, people just, we kind of want to put a blind eye to it. And it was interesting because earlier today, I had a doctor's appointment with my girls, and it was funny because I have teenage girls. I do, teenage girls and a teenage boy. And of course, one of the questions that was asked was, do we need to look at birth control? Before I could open my mouth, they were like, no. I didn't even get a chance to open my mouth, because it was just something that's a part of their personal choice.
Well, that's good.
Is that I'm not going to go, and that's because of me advocating. That's because, their religious background. That's because of them understanding who they are as a person, and really being okay with themselves and not having to fall into. But what happens in that moment? What if they would have said yes and I would have said no? Am I truly advocating for my child?
I think in that case, you would have to maybe give them an age limit, maybe 17, 18. If you want to, you can. It depends on the age, I would say. Yeah.
Definitely. But you have, and that's definitely a moment where you have to be advocate.
I understand. You're right about that. Because you can't stop them to think about it. So you have to give them a choice. You can't stop them. If you could stop them, you wouldn't be there.
And so I just thought that was so funny for me, because I said, wow, how many other parents would have just said, you know what? Well, let's do it, without knowing the behind the scenes of it, not knowing that, okay, if they get the depot shot, then it messes with them, their emotions, that they gain weight and so many other things. Like if you didn't know all this stuff and they just say, okay, well, yeah, because I don't want them to get pregnant. That's not advocating for your child. Now, listen, that may be my personal choice, personal decision, but I feel as though that's a legit topic to think about when it comes to advocating for your child.
I think so too. In other words, as far as advocating for your child, me and you talking right now, we can look at it like this. It's looking at not only your point of view, but the child's point of view. It's kind of looking at all points of views in advocating for your child, not just your side and your beliefs set in stone. Let's look at the other side let's flip the coin and look at the other side of it in advocating for our children. I had to do some things like that concerning the medication for my child. I had to weigh the odds. They had cases where they say this is the best medicine for this type of, with schizophrenia, etc. And I looked at the odds and said, no, that medication may be a good medicine, but it has too many long-term side effects. So I opted not to use it. So you just can't sit there and look at one side of it.
Exactly. And so then you got this, and you're trying to juggle your business.
Mm-hmm.
For some of you, you're still at a job, so you're trying to juggle, do your business, a job, and just the regular everyday things of trying to be the advocate for your child. It is a lot. It can be a lot. So that's why we said those key elements were what? The networking, the research, the communication. I think those are like your key elements that will set you on the right path, because I have done the research. I know that there's a big thing with suicide amongst teens, and I've had that conversation, and they know, where I stand in certain situations. We've had those conversations, but guess what? Can we be honest? There's still a lot of parents who are scared to talk to their kids.
Right. They are. You are right. Mm-hmm. Scared.
And I think it's because maybe we're scared of the result. We're scared of the response. We're scared of the outcome.
We as parents, we don't want to think that our children are going to grow up and ask those questions. We are really scared of that. You're right. What is she doing? What is he doing? And we talking about girls, but I have 2 daughters. But you didn't touch upon something. What about those young men with no fathers, Altavis? Who's going to tell them about birth control and using condoms, etc.? We got another task on our hands with these young men not having a father in the house.
That's saying a lot as well. And like I said, as a speaker, as an author, there are some key things that you need to have in place. And we said that earlier, that a team is critical. A team is very, very critical when it comes to you being a speaker or an author, and you're a parent. Not just having a team, but a team who can show up and show out in certain instances. You may need somebody that's that goon squad sometimes that can show up on your behalf, because they have the same heart for your children that you have. And although we know that nobody really has the same heart for our children exactly as we have it, but you have some people that can come pretty close.
Right. Yeah. I had some people that came pretty close. You're right about that. I will not disagree with that at all.
And so I know that with me, it's been interesting with taking them on the road with me for certain events and wanting them to come along to certain things. I love it. They love it. It's always a battle between, okay, well, what's the schedule for school? What do you have going on? I don't know if you'll be able to, leave out early or whatever for this event, but it allows them to see the journey, for one.
Mm-hmm. Right.
It also allows me to have some of those personal moments with them.
Right. Exactly.
And so I think those personal moments, those moments where we can have those conversations, they mean a lot.
Yeah. I tell you what, I have 2 daughters. One's 26 and the other one is almost, my special needs daughter is almost 23. And what you're doing, I take my hat off to you, because I can tell you, Altavis, it goes so fastly. That time moves so quickly. So you're doing the right thing. And you can't get that time back with your kids. Can't get it back.
You are definitely right about that. You can't get it back. And I think that's the fear that people have when they tell you that, oh, you're a parent, so you shouldn't be doing all this traveling. Oh, you're a parent, so you should be home more, and you shouldn't be doing this, and you shouldn't be. I think that's a part of that fear, is that you're like, they believe that by you doing all these things, you're going to miss out on your child's life. But in reality, if you don't have a plan, you'll miss out on their life.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But when you do it the right way and you set things up, I know that I am not going to a networking event that will be held in Texas next month, because I know on that same date, my girls are going to be, their musical is that same date. So I already shut that down. That was a no-brainer. I'm not going, can't be there. I'll try to support share something out if you got it online, but I can't do it because I set it up that I'm going to be at their event.
Yes, I had one thing, like one of those characteristics in my book, 7 Characteristics of Highly Effective Parenting. And one of them is putting your child first. Put that child first. That's one of the characteristics. So kudos to you. You're right.
Yeah, it was hard. No, that one wasn't hard. I mean, there's been some other ones that I just was like, ouch, ouch. I wanted to go, but okay. But I can tell you this, that as a parent, especially with some of the people that I've been networking and engaging with, there are the parents, they can understand it and they respect it more.
Oh, yeah. We can understand it. Yeah, we do. We understand it.
So that means all the difference. So guys, I see you guys have been chatting it up in the comments. And, you know, they were talking about, you know, when the doctor asked you to step out that room to have that conversation and how they weren't really ready. Fatima said, yeah, researching and networking definitely helped me advocate for my girls in school.
Yeah.
Big one. And Thea said it. Yes. Then you have to come home and have that conversation to empower them within deciding what to do. And this is the thing. And I found that when it comes to, okay, so this is maybe it's just me, but I found that as a parent, I do much better with having real conversations with my children as opposed to trying to make everything smell like roses and taste like candy.
Well, yeah, you've conquered that. Then a lot of parents still not at that. They're still not in that stage. They try to cover up everything. You're right.
So yeah, if I make a mistake, I tell them. If I do something wrong, I tell them. Why? Because it's either they learn by watching you or they're going to learn by doing it themselves.
Yeah, that's right. Yes.
So I think that's a big piece of it too. And so I thought it was funny because everybody's like, oh, they're so, they don't want to have the talk with their children. You do realize that they start telling them about sex ed as early as elementary school now?
Yeah, I worked in a school. I realized that. I didn't realize that until I worked in a school.
It's like, you're like, you don't want to have the talk with them until they're in high school, but they already knew about it before. They could probably teach you some things by the time they get to high school. And so we've kind of put ourselves in this little bubble, thinking that they're always going to be in the pigtails and the barrettes and the ballies. And it's funny because I had a conversation with my oldest daughter who she was in 5th grade and she still had ballies and barrettes in her hair. And I just kind of was like, she said, Mom, why was I still wearing ballies and barrettes? And I just was like, because I didn't want you to grow up.
I know. And can we say, while we're on the subject, after this, I want to leave us with another good tip. Listen, parents, we also need to, just because our children have special needs or have problems, ADHD, schizophrenia, bipolar, or anything, mildly or retarded or anything, we still need to have that talk, guys. I just wanted to leave with that on that note. We still need to have that talk on their level and on their terms. They can understand. They'll understand. We know how to put it into terms so they can understand, what should happen to them.
Now that's a great piece. I think that there are some
as protecting their body.
Yes,
we need to talk as well with kids with disabilities.
Yes, indeed. I've found that conversation to be another one that people don't want to. Yeah. They're like, no, we don't need to talk to them about it. And then it's kind of like, I love it how my pastor always says it is, it's either you're proactive or you're reactive.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have to determine which way are you going to be when it comes to your children. Are you going to be proactive or reactive?
True. That's
If
very
you're
true.
reactive, what's your expectation?
Mm-hmm. Right.
So having those conversations, it matters. It matters. And so it's definitely something that isn't talked about. Again, that's a part of that process as a speaker, as an author, that people don't discuss. People don't talk about the parenting piece. They don't talk about, they don't talk about the stereotypes that come with, oh, you're a parent. Oh, you have to leave early because you got to go check on your kids. They don't hear those parts before we start this process. Mm-hmm. And so I thought it was interesting because I've come in contact with parents who've been at events and who had to leave because they had to go home and make sure the kids were okay. I've been at events where parents had their children with them. I actually saw someone, and kudos to them, because they're doing an event where there will be childcare, something that most people, it's like mind blown. Why wouldn't we think of this? Hello? Because guess what? What you do is you set a standard for what you want those who are coming to be able to do. You set a standard for what your speakers and, what they're going to be able to do. And if that means that they have to bring their children, are you going to shut them out because you haven't thought about that? Or are you going to shut them out because that isn't enough of a priority for you?
Yeah, right.
That's something we got to think about.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so I'm starting to see that more in different arenas and for different events, because the reality is I'm a single mother. So I understand what other single mothers are going through, and not every single mother has a team.
That's right. That's right.
Not every single mother has a support system. Not every single parent has people that can go and watch the kids while they leave for a weekend to go to an event in a whole nother state. Not everybody has that. So since everybody doesn't have that, we're now at a disadvantage, and we shouldn't be.
Right. That's true. That's true.
We definitely shouldn't be. And Fatima said, listen, I wasn't ready for them being exposed to talk in elementary school. She said so she made herself sit down and do it.
Okay.
She might got a little sick afterwards, but she made herself sit down and do it. Because, listen, proactive, reactive, what are you going to be as a parent? And this is, again, those of you that have been following the podcast, we talk about those topics that people don't want to talk about when it comes to being a speaker or the author. And people don't want to talk about you being a speaker and an author, but you also being a parent.
Uh-huh.
That part, they kind of want to close off that part. That part isn't real. No, it's real. And it affects everything that I do. Mm-hmm. It affects everything that I do. Let's talk about this other piece. Because also, when we're advocating, and I'm going to be bold, y'all. Hashtag real talk in the comments. I'm going to be bold and say it. That as an advocate for your child, that also means that you need to charge your worth, because your children are directly affected by how you're charging for your products and services. Now, what do you think about that one, Jacqueline?
Yeah, well, I'm piggybacking off everybody. We as women, we are just learning our worth here the last year or two. We're so used to just giving everything away for free and nurturing everybody and doing everything. I'm still having problems with trying to charge my worth. But yeah, it affects, your bottom line affects everything. Your household, your children, it just affects.
That's right. And so it
affects everything.
It's the bottom line. Mm-hmm. I can't say that I'm a professional speaker and then not want to charge my worth, and then I can't pay for what I need to pay for my children. Listen, this is a transparent podcast in case you did not know. I cannot go and not charge my worth and then saying that I'm an advocate for my child. I am doing what's best for my child. You're not.
Okay.
You're not. And so that part is kind of like, and Thea said it in the comments, ouch. Yeah, that's an ouch moment. That's definitely an ouch moment. Now, will it change? Oh, it'll change. It definitely will change. But the reality is if I say that this is the business that I'm going to do, and I'm not making enough to cover my bills, I'm not making enough to take care of my children and to give them the things that they need, then I really have to question, is this a hobby or is this a business?
Yeah. Well, I'm the new girl on the block, so I can't really say right now what mine is, but in a few months I should be able to tell you guys it's a hobby or it's a business. I'm hoping it becomes a business. Yeah.
Definitely. And if you set it up and put things in place and set it in motion for it to be that way, it definitely can. So guys, those of you in the comments, literally, what do you think about that comment? What do you think about that? As an author, as a speaker, if you're not charging your worth, then you are not advocating for your children. Can you see the correlation? Do you think that is completely preposterous? Are you like, what is she talking about? The unicorn has lost her mind. Are you looking at it and saying, I think she's crazy? Or are you really being able to see and understand where we're coming from that perspective? It's not easy. There is a mindset that has to go with it. But ultimately, as the advocate for your child, you need to advocate across the board. I'm advocating for their legacy. I'm advocating for their education. I'm advocating for their health. I'm advocating for them every day. I need to do so. I need to do this.
Yeah, I understand.
So that's definitely it. And so Toya said, it will speak it. Listen. Exactly. Fatima said, ouch for real. And that's an ouch moment. I had to understand that. That definitely is, that's a part of that process. And again, this is the topic that people don't talk about when it comes to speaking and being an author and having your own business. This is the part that people want to keep behind closed doors. But if we keep having it behind closed doors, how do we heal? How do we change the status quo? How do we change the all of these little sayings and all of these things that you're believing is true? And how do we change all of that? Let's start having the conversation out in the open.
Yeah, I think so. I know so. Other than that, just like you just said, it's not going to change if we don't talk about it or put it on the forefront. No, it'll stay behind closed doors.
That's it. You got to put it on the chopping block in order to do something about it. And so with that being said, I always ask everybody that's ever been on the show, literally, what's been one of the blunders for you in publishing your first book and like getting it together and, doing the process, either the thought process or the publishing process? What was a blunder for you?
No, a blunder for me was that by me not being that, I don't have too much technical knowledge. That kind of keep you at a slow process because you got to wait for everybody to do it. Believe it or not, I handwritten my books the old-fashioned way in a notebook. I didn't put them on a computer. I handwritten everything down. I just handwritten everything. And that was a kind of like if that's what you're asking, a blunder, because I had to kind of wait for everybody to do everything. I'm not too computer savvy. But the process wasn't as hard as I thought it would be. If you networking again, when you get out there and start networking with the right people, And I have 2 books out and 1 on the way.
Definitely. And I can definitely understand that, because listen, mine was the opposite, because I was like, oh yeah, I went ahead and I typed it in my second book. I typed it all up, and then I thought it was automatically saving, and after a certain point it had stopped saving. And so I was like, no.
You had lost half of the book.
Mm-hmm. I had lost like a quarter of the stuff I had written. I was so mad, but a lot of it I had written down. So like at least like an outline of it. So it wasn't too bad. But oh my goodness, if everything wouldn't have updated, when my laptop crashed, it would have been pandemonium.
So you're interviewing me. So you on number 7 now to this book?
I just published number 8. And number 9 is about to be, number 9 will be out in February.
Okay. Well, it's a journey, but I'm glad I took the journey.
Definitely. And you know, I think that's the biggest piece of it, is that one of the most proud things that I can say is that my children have been able to see the journey.
Yeah.
They've definitely been able to see it. So thank you so much, Jacqueline, for coming on today. I want you to let people know where they can find your books and how they can get in contact with you on social media.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, you can find my books on Amazon. My first ebook is Fighting for My Child's Life, and the second ebook is 7 Characteristics of Highly Effective Parenting. And I'm on the third book, 90 Affirmations and Prayers. That'll be out within a week or so. I'm found as Jacqueline Levy on Facebook and Twitter. I'm not hard to find. And any parent out there with a child with a disability or not a disability, I hope you would check out Fighting for My Child's Life. And just know that you are the best advocate. We are the best advocate for our children. Any type of children that have to be said, not only children with disabilities, all children. And thank you again for having me, Altavis. Thank you again.
I appreciate you coming on today. And guys, listen, we did those who are just coming in, we did some not so easy topics when it comes to parenting as the entrepreneur, because the reality is again, what do we do on Speak Easy? We talk about the behind the scenes of what it is to be the speaker or the author. And as an advocate for your child, that's one of the behind the scenes things that's not being talked about. So I appreciate you for coming on today, Jacqueline. And I just want to say to everybody else, thank you for showing up and always engaging with us in conversation. We definitely appreciate it. And I look forward to seeing you guys next time. If you are an author or speaker and would love to be on the platform as a guest, bit.ly/Speakeasy Podcast is how you can sign up for your spot to be a guest. And as well as some of the other things that are coming down the pipeline. You guys know that we just finished our Power of Words Telesummit for the first quarter. Guys, the next one is coming up in April. So if you want more information about that, send me a message, contacts@altavispelzer.com, and then put into the subject line, Telesummit Presenter. I will definitely reach back out to you guys as we start to get the ball rolling for the next Telesummit. So until next time, guys, thank you. And don't forget to press it out until, that part.